You are listening to AudioBin, a podcast made by the Dach, an independent production company based in Mexico City. Here we will talk about films and series. We will also interview other filmmakers. We will learn about their history, their work and creative process. I'm your host, Rocio Rubio Raman. Today we will interview Bo Sanders, filmmaker and screenwriter from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm asking him about his new short film, The Exchange.
As a screenwriter, I still love screenwriting, and I still want to get out there and, of course, make it big, as we all do. But when the pandemic hit and we were locked down, boy, I was itching to actually to produce something. So over the past several months, I picked up some film equipment, just the basics, the camera, the lights. I had a few short stories that I had been working on. The Exchange is one that I figured would be the most easiest to accomplish during this pandemic because it's very enclosed and very grounded. Just involved a couple people in the neighborhood, really, and including the girl who's a 10-year-old bright star. And if you see the film, she really shines in it. We just got together and filmed it over the course of a couple weekends. The story came from, it's inspired by Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I really fell in love with that film as a kid. And it talks about a man who leaves his family to go jump in a UFO. So kind of it's a magical film. It has kind of an upbeat ending, but Steven Spielberg had said in an interview a little later, after the film came out, several years later, I think it was for like the 20th anniversary of the film DVD extra or something, that he said he wouldn't have written that ending the way he did back then because a guy leaves his wife and 3 kids to jump on a UFO. It's not very logical when you think about it. So I wanted to take the story from the perspective of a couple of humans that were returning to Earth and contemplating their future because they don't know what's out there when they get off the ship. So it talks about it's focused on a World War II pilot and a 10-year-old farm girl, and they contemplate their future after they get back from this paranormal journey. And it kind of ties in at the end with Close Encounters. If you're familiar with the film, there's a cameo of sorts at the end, which kind of draws, if those fans of Close Encounters will see the connection. But I had great fun making it, and I think it's important for folks to realize it doesn't take much to produce something these days. I'm sure we can get into a little bit more, but I just had the itching to do it. I had zero budget, really, just picked up a couple things off Amazon and secured a location and had a little help along the way. But again, I was very satisfied with the outcome. And now it's in a online film festival, which is called the Intergalactic Imagination Conneseurs Film Festival, on a YouTube channel called the Burnettwork with Robert Meyer Burnett. He's a film producer, and he hosts a cultural YouTube channel where they talk all kinds of films, books, comics, called Robservation. So that's how I got involved with that. He was really the spark, watching his channel, sitting at home during lockdown and getting a spark from a channel where he just said, you know what, I'm going to do a film festival. So I entered it, and now it's featured. So it's kind of exciting.
I have heard that many filmmakers are doing that. Like they are just setting their own sets in their house. They are writing and they are just producing, as they can. Do you think that if this pandemic still goes on, do you think it's like a very good opportunity for filmmakers to still working by their own?
I think it's a way to keep active, which is important, especially if you're just a writer who, maybe you don't want to pick up a camera, but if you get on Facebook or some other social media, I'm sure you can find local folks that are around that would be willing to help you, even if it's over the internet, doing it remotely. There's a a wealth of information that you can learn off the internet. YouTube channels in particular, don't just sit around and watch TV all day if you're locked down. Learn something. And I think we live in a fascinating time to where, if you have the means and you want to go to a film school or a journalism school, by all means do that, even though most are still online. So you're really not missing much, but you can learn so much on YouTube. That's how I did with the filmmaking direction that I've taken. You can spend hours just learning from folks out there that are sharing this for free. What camera lenses to use, what types of lighting you can use, even with stuff around the house, a flashlight, a candle. You can learn so much. And if you have a story in your head and you're waiting to become that next big thing, it's very difficult, but it certainly helps if you start putting projects together yourself. And like I said, you can find help along the way, be it family members who want to see their name in the end credits. I just recommend that folks get out there and just produce. Because at the end of the day, you get that out of your system. Hopefully you have something you're proud of, but you can add it to your portfolio, instead of going around with a screenplay, hoping to get it sold, a feature screenplay, very difficult. But if you start small and make it quality, put a little effort into it, it can do wonders for you, at least, and plus you can post it online for free. Through YouTube. So it's really a magical time, I think, for creators these days, like yourself. Look at you. You wanted to take on this new venture, and you're doing it. So it's exciting.
Like you said, you just have to keep working and just keep coming with new ideas and just do it.
Like anything else, if you get depressed and you stop writing or you stop wanting to create, you can get rusty, and it's that much more difficult to get back into working. So that's what I would suggest. Start small. The more you practice, the better you'll become. This was my first produced film. It was a short. It's 8 minutes long, and I was happy with it. But I know it's not perfect. But you learn from it, and you go on and you go on and you learn more and you become better. Like with anything else, with writing or anything else, any other career path you take.
Yeah, you also talk about writing a feature film is much more harder, like to sell it and to make it come true than a short film. I also found your script, Savior. It's in Amazon. Can you talk about, because for me, maybe it's a new strategy.
Well, it goes back to wanting to get your name out there, wanting to get your work out there. Savior was a project that actually had some success at Oaxaca in 2018. It won the global screenplay competition. So I was very pleased with that. And that was my first feature that I had written. And it's a pet project. And it's one of those that I know will most likely never be produced. But it's one of those get your foot in the door type projects to show people what I can do. And when it came to Amazon, again, it was, okay, I'm not, handing this out to producers, So why not get it out there, knowing full well that, hey, anybody can pick this book up. And I self-published. It's in paperback format, and that too was that was free to do it via Amazon. Their direct publishing that they do. I just again spent a day or two learning about it on YouTube and through Amazon, and you don't have to purchase any copies. They produce the copies as they're being purchased. So again, it's no overhead. You don't have to put money out there, and they do all the work for you. You have to, of course, learn about how to format it and get the typesetting right and whatever. And I do explain on my Amazon site that this isn't a novel. It's still in script format. It still has the format. But I still think even novel readers, regular readers, can easily follow a script format. So I found people that purchased it had never picked up a screenplay, and they still could follow it. and it opened a new door to them as far as what type of product is out there. So yeah, I had great fun producing this. And with that, I did my second one called The Matron Saint. So again, these are features. I'm actually getting some interest with The Matron Saint, which I'm very excited about. I can't talk about yet, of course, but yeah, and again, I think just getting your name out there, this isn't for everybody to self-publish a screenplay, but as long as you follow all the correct steps, you get it, a copyright on it and so forth. I didn't see any harm in it, especially when you consider many novels that come out turn into screenplays. So I'm kind of skipping a step and going straight for a paperback version of a screenplay. So anyway, it has gained some interest for me, and it's fun to do. Again, like I said, you're actually getting a product you can hold in your hand and share with people. And I loved giving them out as presents, for holidays. People enjoy getting, it's like a book of poetry that somebody might have written, but mine's just a screenplay.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a wonderful gift to receive. Probably this question I had to ask you as the first one, but I want to know, how do you start as a screenwriter? Because I read that you started in radio, right?
I did. And I think a lot of us, writers or filmmakers, we have certain creative backgrounds. Mine just happened to be, I was a goofy radio morning show sidekick. So I was with all the sound effects and all that, and playing jokes and telling jokes and doing skits and so forth. So yeah, I did that for just over 10 years. And always in the back of my mind, I wanted to become a writer. Savior, in fact, the first feature came out of a short story I wrote in high school. And it was my creative writing teacher who told me this would make a fantastic screenplay. And I always thought, well, I guess there are screenplay, people who write screenplays. And then I looked into that a little bit, but, I put that off. I went to college for journalism and radio broadcasting. And it was there that I got the radio job. But once I finished that and went on to other things, I still had Savior in the back of my mind. So I decided to sit down and take a go at it in a proper feature-length format. And again, it's stuff that I learned online. I didn't go to a college for screenwriting. I didn't go to I studied radio broadcasting, but when I got out, and had the itching to actually do some more work with it, everything was out there online that I can learn. And it's just like I said, an amazing time where you can really become whatever you want just by learning for free with everything on YouTube and other internet sites.
I was just thinking, as you say, YouTube and all the online platforms are excellent. Which other tools do you recommend us to use to create collaboration online by distance?
Well, look what you're doing now. You're doing a Zoom for free with me. If anyone wants to do just a film about their life, talking to friends on Zoom, you can hit the record button and then share it to the world. And it can be either a documentary style, this is me and my friends talking, or if you want to write down a couple lines, email them to your friend and go from there. So, I can't think of the name of the movie, but it came out within the past year, and it had some success where it was all about just online communication between some folks. I think it was a horror movie or something. There was some kind of murder in the background or something, but you can really do whatever you want. You can have a romance movie, you can do a comedy, of course, mystery, so this isn't a time to where there's absolutely nothing you can do to achieve some kind of success out there. I would just recommend to stay at it, And again, it might be awful your first or second time doing it. And you might have friends go, when they watch it, but at least you're learning, and as long as you keep practicing, you're going to improve.
Yeah, probably maybe it's even better than a film school, because you are actually doing, even if you are in your house or a friend's house or in public park, you are actually doing something and you can learn online.
Well, I think and that goes for anything. If you have the means and you want to get a college education, by all means do so. But these days, no matter what you want to get into as an industry, very few will actually say, "Oh, what kind of graduation certificates do you have from such and such school?" Now, yeah, if you can get into like UFC or New York film schools or anything, that's going to look nice. It might get you into a few doors, but what really sells is what you can produce. And you can do all that by yourself right now with just the help of a few folks or on your own altogether. If you have a phone with a camera, you can become a filmmaker, which is, again, this wasn't even possible, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. This is something that, I dreamed about when I first saw Close Encounters or Star Wars, and then you're like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be fun to make a movie? And, I remember my parents, they had a Super 8mm camera, with the actual film reels in it, no sound, but that's all I had, and it was fun. And I played with it and tried to make a couple movies. But these days you have sound built in, you have lights built in, you have phones that are comparable to many movie cameras, professional film cameras from just a few decades ago. If you have an iPhone, no matter what year, it seems like it's taking as good as video as you could have found, anywhere just a few short years ago. So yeah, all the tools are out there for us, and it takes little to no money to be creative and to get your name out there, which I think is most important over anything else. Go to school if you want to, or if you want to learn other things, that's important. But I think no matter what industry you want to get into, that information is found online for free. So take advantage. My next short that I'm going to shoot in the spring is more of a Twilight Zone science fiction. So even though my heart is with Star Wars, Close Encounters, outer space, this is more of a Twilight Zone, with a nice little twist at the end. And I'm waiting for spring because it's all shot outdoors on a bicycle trail. So I'm looking forward to that. I already have feelers out for friends and folks on Facebook in my community that they're wanting to do stuff like anybody else. They're wanting to get out there. And, I learned as long as you feed them, you really don't have to pay them, and they're excited to get their name in the credits and to show off their work, because it's not only you that wants to, get your product out there. It's the actors. It's, it's the camera folks. If you don't want to operate the camera yourself, there's directors of photography that would be itching to get on board a project. And I say feed them because I learned by, looking online at independent filmmaking that if you can't pay them, make sure you at least feed them.
Is this a script that you wrote during the pandemic?
Near the beginning of it, I started writing shorts. And again, I had no intention to making any of them. I just wanted to, I had a couple ideas that I didn't want to expand on, that I thought were contained enough to be able to tell a story within 8 to 15 minutes. So this one that I'm shooting in April, when the weather improves, it's just something that now that I did the exchange, I had that itch to do another, actual full-blown production. So, and once I shown the exchange to some of the folks that I'm in contact with, they're like, okay, this, Bo means business. He's not just shooting something on his phone. Even though I could have, but I actually did invest in some equipment. I'm excited to get out there and do it again. And I think anybody who does that, and once you create something, you want to keep going. So I'm excited for what the spring might bring. It's called Residual Alibi. Residual Alibi. It's a kind of a ghost story, but we'll see how that goes.
How do you see the future of the film industry? Maybe in about a year, do you think it's going to be a lot about collaboration online and learning online and just, with our distance? Or do you think it's going to have 180 degrees change? How do you see the future is going to be?
Yeah, well, I see where filmmaking, screenwriting, It's right on the verge. It's kind of like midway between something impossible to get into and something that's very easy to get into, because, with the pandemic, movie theaters shut down. A lot of things been going online for streaming. You've got all these streaming services that are really clamoring to find product. So while, some may think it's difficult to get into the business, if you don't work for Marvel, if you don't work for Disney and those giant flagpole, franchises, it's difficult to get into that, but there's still streaming services that would pay good money to get product. They want to fill their channel and give people, their subscribers, a multitude of options. So, and all you have to do is look on Netflix, and you'll find some movies, and you're like, how did this get on Netflix? I don't want to poo-poo anybody's creativity, but it just goes to show you, if you think you can do it better, try it, because you never know. So I think, again, I think it's more exciting than ever to be a creator, be it YouTube, be it a blog writer, even, making movies for Netflix. You can go online and find out exactly what Netflix looks for as far as how to package either a TV, if you have a TV pilot in mind, or if you have a feature-length film in mind. And even Amazon, they purchase short stories. And again, they're not looking for anything specific. It seems like they're wanting a wide variety of products. So I think this is as good a time as ever to actually get something out there.
Thank you for listening to AudioBin, a podcast made by the Dach and produced in Mexico City, hosted by Rocio Rubio Raman. If you want us to keep going, please listen and subscribe. You can email us at audiobin@thedach.com or visit our website www.thedach.com. Jazz music by Ben Sound.